Caitlin Clark returned from an injury-filled season and immediately reminded everyone why she is considered one of the most important players in the WNBA. From the moment she stepped back onto the court, she looked confident, aggressive, and fully in control of the game. Her impact was impossible to ignore. She elevated Indiana's offense, drew constant defensive attention, and continued to be the player opposing teams built their entire game plans around. To most fans, it seemed obvious that the Indiana Fever had found the superstar they could build around for the next decade, but while Clark was proving her value on the court, a very different conversation was quietly developing behind the scenes.
Lynn Dunn is out in the public planting the seeds that she's trading Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark 100% will get traded away from the Indiana Fever before Stephanie White gets moved. That is what Lynn Dunn is going out.
Rumors and speculation began circulating that certain people connected to the Fever organization might not be completely committed to keeping Clark as the centerpiece of the franchise. What made those rumors so surprising was that they had nothing to do with poor performance, locker room drama, or any major controversy. Clark was producing results, generating attention, and helping transform the Fever into one of the most talked about teams in professional basketball. The center of much of this discussion is Lynn Dunn, one of the most respected and influential figures associated with the Indiana Fever. Dunn has decades of experience in basketball and has played a major role in shaping the franchise throughout its history. Because of her reputation and influence, people pay close attention whenever she speaks publicly about the game. Recently, however, some fans and analysts have begun questioning whether certain comments and public appearances from Dunn are sending a message about the future direction of the organization. While she has never directly stated that Caitlin Clark should be traded, critics believe some of her remarks have contributed to narratives that raise questions about Clark's long-term fit within the franchise. That is why speculation has continued to grow. Some observers have even argued that if the Fever were ever forced to choose between maintaining their current organizational philosophy and fully building around Clark, difficult decisions could eventually be made. Whether those claims are fair or not remains a matter of debate, but the fact that they are being discussed at all shows how much attention this situation has attracted.
Lynn Dunn joined the panel here of coaches and executives, etc. And she's planting the seeds in the ground that, I've had to make big decisions of getting rid of star players before. And it's tough when you got to make the decision to get rid of a star player, but sometimes it's what you have to do for culture. Lynn Dunn is planting the seeds, bro. Dan Dockage didn't come out of nowhere saying all of this stuff, y'all. The writing is on the...
Another important name that keeps appearing in this story is Cori Close. At first glance, her connection to the situation seems completely ordinary. Close is one of the most respected coaches in women's basketball and recently guided UCLA to a national championship. Because of her success, it was natural for her name to be linked with coaching opportunities around the league, including the Los Angeles Sparks. Normally, that kind of coaching speculation would attract very little attention. Coaches are constantly connected to vacancies, and those rumors often disappear as quickly as they emerge. However, what caught people's attention was the way certain conversations began overlapping. As discussions about the Sparks' future intensified, some observers noticed that Lynn Dunn frequently appeared around many of the same basketball circles, public panels, and social media discussions where those topics were being explored. By itself, that does not prove anything. But in the modern sports world, fans often look for patterns rather than isolated incidents. When influential basketball figures repeatedly appear in conversations involving the same organizations, theories naturally begin to develop. That is exactly what happened here. As the story continued to develop, many observers began focusing less on individual comments and more on the overall pattern that appeared to be emerging. One comment can be dismissed.
When I go into an environment, when I go to evaluate a player or coach or whatever, I want to see, hear, and feel that culture. And so I think about sometimes culture is kind of like you have to plant it, you have to grow it, and you have to maintain it. And it's a little bit like a garden, sometimes you have to weed it. You may have some problems with some weeds taking over your culture, and you have to plop them out and pick them out and let them go.
Sometimes you got to plop them out, pick them out, and let them go.
one social media interaction can be explained away. But when multiple events point in the same direction over an extended period of time, people naturally begin connecting the dots. That is exactly why this situation has gained so much attention. Critics argue that the issue is not a single statement or one controversial opinion. Instead, they believe it is the accumulation of numerous public actions, relationships, and conversations that all seem to create a similar narrative. Whether intentional or not, those actions have fueled speculation that something significant could eventually happen involving Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. As the situation around Caitlin Clark continues to develop, the conversation is no longer just about basketball performance or on-court impact.
That's probably the toughest thing, is when you have to let a player go, or trade a player, or cut a player, because they don't fit into your culture that you've created, and it all goes back to behavior.
It all goes back to behavior. The toughest thing is when you gotta trade a player, cut a player, and it all goes back to behavior.
It has now expanded into a much larger discussion involving team identity, organizational direction, and the long-term vision of the Indiana Fever. Many analysts believe that decisions at this level are rarely made overnight. Instead, they are shaped gradually through internal discussions, external pressure, and the way narratives are built in public spaces. From the Fever's perspective, Clark is not just a player producing elite numbers. She has become the central figure driving the franchise's visibility, commercial success, and national relevance. Every game she plays draws massive attention, and every performance adds to her growing influence within the league. Because of that, even the slightest suggestion of uncertainty around her future creates immediate react. Jeff Mayweather added a more critical and balanced perspective to the discussion surrounding Conor Benn and his place in the spotlight. According to him, Benn is currently in a complicated position where the level of attention he receives does not always match his actual accomplishments inside the ring. In other words, he believes Benn is simultaneously overexposed in terms of hype, yet still underproven when measured against elite-level competition. Jeff pointed out that part of Benn's visibility comes from his last name. Being the son of Nigel Benn, a respected boxing legend, naturally places him under a brighter spotlight than many fighters with similar resumes. That legacy creates opportunities, but it also creates expectations that he is still in the process of fully meeting. From Jeff's viewpoint, Benn is still building his identity as a fighter in his own right, rather than being defined by his family background or promotional push. Gareth A. Davies and Ade Oladipo also weighed in on the potential matchup between Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn, and their perspective added another layer of realism to the discussion. While they acknowledged the excitement surrounding the fight, they also emphasized that the outcome is heavily dependent on what happens in Ryan Garcia's immediate future, particularly his performance against Mario Barrios. Their analysis suggests that Benn could pose a serious threat if the fight is made, largely because of his aggressive style and physical strength. However, they also made it clear that nothing is guaranteed for either fighter at this stage. Garcia still has to prove he is fully stable and focused at this level, while Benn must demonstrate that he can consistently compete with elite opposition. Bernie offered a blunt and straightforward take on the idea of Conor Benn challenging for a world title against Ryan Garcia. In his view, the situation highlights the complicated nature of boxing politics, where opportunities are not always strictly based on merit or rankings alone. Instead, factors like marketability, timing, and promotional influence often play a significant role in determining who gets the biggest fights. He pointed out that Benn's recent performances may not have clearly established him as the undisputed next challenger for a championship opportunity. At the same time, Ryan Garcia himself is also in a position where he is receiving high-level opportunities despite coming off setbacks. That comparison, in Bernie's eyes, shows how inconsistent the sport can be when it comes to matchmaking at the top level. Despite his criticism of the process, Bernie still made his prediction clear. If Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn do end up facing each other in the ring, he believes Garcia's speed, timing, and overall boxing ability would give him the advantage. However, he also acknowledged that Benn's pressure and determination make him a live threat in any exchange. Derek Chisora and Simon Jordan also discussed the potential clash and focused heavily on the difference in experience between the two fighters. Simon Jordan in particular suggested that while Ben has built a solid career and earned respect in certain circles, he may still be operating within a carefully managed path in terms of opposition quality. From that perspective, a fight with Ryan Garcia would represent a significant step up in competition. Garcia has already competed on bigger stages, faced higher pressure environments, and dealt with more global attention. That experience gap is one of the key talking points in this matchup, and it raises the question of whether Ben is truly prepared for that level of intensity. Mickey Bay also shared his thoughts and highlighted the danger Conor Ben could face against a fighter like Ryan Garcia. His analysis focused primarily on style contrast. Garcia's speed, timing, and counter-punching ability make him especially dangerous against aggressive opponents who come forward in straight lines. Because Ben's style is built around pressure and forward momentum, Mickey believes there is a real risk that he could walk into clean countershots if he is not careful. That is where Garcia's biggest advantage lies. He does not need constant openings, he only needs one moment to change the entire fight. Wade added another dimension to the discussion by highlighting the personal tension that appears to be developing between Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben. According to him, this is not just a professional matchup being discussed in terms of rankings or titles, but a fight that already carries emotional weight due to past interactions between the two fighters. He referenced an incident where a casual exchange between them at an event quickly turned tense. What started as light conversation escalated after Ben made a confident remark about Garcia's signature left hook not being effective against him. That comment stood out because the left hook is widely considered one of Garcia's most dangerous weapons. Paulie Malignaggi offered a more cautious evaluation of Conor Ben's standing in the division. He acknowledged Ben's talent, toughness, and ability to generate excitement, but questioned whether he has fully proven himself at elite world championship level. According to this viewpoint, Ben is a strong contender capable of competing in big fights, but there is still uncertainty about whether he belongs in the very top tier alongside fighters like Ryan Garcia. That distinction is important because it separates being a popular name from being a proven elite-level competitor. Malignaggi's argument is not that Ben lacks ability, but that his resume has not yet been tested consistently against the highest level of opposition. And until that happens, every major fight he enters will come with questions about whether he is truly ready for that stage. Malignaggi also pointed out that Ben's recent performances have not necessarily strengthened his case in the eyes of critics. Instead, they have reinforced the debate around whether he is being fast-tracked into major opportunities based more on name value and marketability than proven achievement. From this perspective, a potential fight with Ryan Garcia represents both an opportunity and a major risk. A strong performance could silence doubts and elevate Ben into genuine elite status. However, a poor showing would likely confirm the skepticism that already exists around him. Oscar de la Hoya also weighed in and emphasized the difference in experience between the two fighters. From his perspective, Ryan Garcia is currently operating at a level where every fight carries significant pressure, exposure, and championship implications. That kind of environment naturally builds resilience and sharpens a fighter's ability to perform under stress. Because of that, Oscar believes Garcia has already been through situations that Ben has not yet encountered at the same scale. The tension between Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben has also spilled into public exchanges, making the potential fight feel even more personal. Garcia recently responded to Ben with a sharp social media post, questioning his credentials and pointing out past performances as evidence of his argument. Ben, meanwhile, has continued to speak with confidence, insisting that he has the tools to hurt Garcia and disrupt his rhythm. Both fighters appear fully committed to the narrative that they can win, and neither is backing down from the build-up. The situation has now evolved into a full-scale debate across the boxing community. Some analysts believe Ben's pressure, strength, and aggression could overwhelm Garcia if he forces a physical fight. Others argue that Garcia's speed, timing, and counter-punching ability make him a dangerous matchup for anyone who comes forward recklessly. That split in opinion is exactly what makes the potential fight so compelling. There is no clear consensus, and both fighters bring qualities that can decide the outcome in very different ways. At the same time, the promotional angle of the fight continues to grow. With major names, different organizations, and strong personalities involved, the matchup carries both sporting and commercial weight. That combination is often what turns a fight from a simple contest into a global event. From a broader perspective, this fight represents more than just rankings or titles. It is a test of reputation, momentum, and belief. Garcia enters with star power and proven explosive ability, while Ben enters with hunger, pressure, and the desire to silence critics. As discussions continue, one thing remains clear: both fighters are now firmly linked in the public imagination. Every performance from either side will be analyzed through the lens of this potential matchup, increasing the pressure on both men. Ultimately, the boxing world is now waiting for clarity. Whether the fight happens or not, the conversation has already changed how both Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben are viewed. For Garcia, it is about confirming elite status. For Ben, it is about proving he belongs on that level at all, and until they meet in the ring, the debate will only continue to grow louder.